Hello and welcome to another video in our MS365 tutorials. If you are in class with me, I have been fielding several questions about the newest homework assignment that's been coming up. And I thought I'd make a little video to talk a little bit more about grouping and how you can work with grouping in various ways in creating visualizations. Now, if you happen to just stumble across this video looking for help with MATPLOTLIB or looking for help with Pandas or grouping, hey, stick around. You don't have to be in class with me just to make this work. We are going to be using our Adidas versus Nike data set. So if you don't happen to have that, it is out there. If you just do a quick Google, it'll be out there if you want to find it. Check Kaggle. It's always going to be there for you. It's just a CSV that's got some data sales on all kinds of different sneaker shoes or sneaker sales from Nike and Adidas. So if you're sticking around with me and you've already got that Adidas versus Nike data set loaded onto your Google Drive and your Google Drive mounted in Colab, let's jump right in and talk about it. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to bring in some libraries that I will use to work on some of this. Matplotlib.pyplot. All right, so we're going to start with that. Okay. Next thing, what we want to do is we're going to want to read our data frame into Pandas, right? So we'll go df equals pd.read_csv. And we will grab our Adidas versus Nike data. And we'll pop it right in here like so. And we'll jump in. We'll go df. And slowly it's thinking, hey, there we go. We've got some stuff. Hey, look at that. I got an email that we don't want. Let's make sure our email is closed. Okay. So now that we've got this data set in here, oh my gosh, go away, email. Now that we've got this data set into a data frame inside Pandas, we're actually going to have to do a little baby bit of data curation here because there are a few things in here that we don't like. Now, how do we know there's some things in here we don't like? Well, here's the first thing. So if I were to just look at unique value count, so if I were to go df brand value counts, if I were to take a look at them, I would immediately find, if I zoom in, check this out, I've got a typo in here, right? So I've got Adidas Originals is a typo brand. Then I've got it again, and someone has accidentally typed Adidas twice, which is why there's 907 transactions that have regular Adidas Originals. And there's one transaction that has Adidas Original. So we need this to be in here, right? We need to rename this. So in order to rename this, what we're going to do is we're going to use the rename feature, okay, the rename option. So what we're going to do is we're going to go df.rename. And in order to do this, much like, replace. And in order to do this, much like rename, we're going to give it a dictionary, right? So I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to list off, I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit or this box is going to make me crazy. In order to make this work, what we need to do is give it the value that we want to replace and then give it the corresponding value that you want to actually be there in its place. So I'm going to do that by giving it a dictionary, right? So I've got those curly brackets, just like a regular old dictionary. So I'm going to start with Adidas, as it's spelled incorrectly, Adidas Originals, and make sure I spell it right. And then I am going to replace that with Adidas, just one Adidas Originals. Now, remember, if you don't say in place equals true here, it will interpret this line of data and it'll do something. It'll look like it works, but it won't actually live inside that data frame. So if we want this to stay so we can use it later, we're going to say in place equals true. And then if we do this and we actually, I guess we didn't need to display the data frame. Really what we needed to do was do value counts. So if we were to take this same line of code, I'll cheat to not have to recopy it or repaste or retype it. It now should move that one stray that was right here, right up here, and that becomes 908. So there's another issue. The other issue you have is that the decimal points are missing on listing price and sales price. So there is no shoe in the world that's $14,999 and a sale price of $7,499. That's not the case. The decimal points are missing. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to add the decimal points back in. There's a very easy way to do that. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to say df listing price equals df dot listing price, and we're going to divide this by 1,000. And if we do that and we look at it again, oh, sorry, not 1,000, should have been 100. Big discount there. Now I have to go back and run it again. So quick misstep that happened here. Every time I run this, it's going to keep dividing this by 100. So it's remembering what the value is. It's going to keep going down. So if I run it again, and then I run it again, it's just going to keep doing that. So what I'll actually have to do is I'll have to go back up here and run it again up here, and then just quickly run back through things. Now, another way that I could have done this would have been to, there we go, read it back into another data frame, but no need to do all that. I could have also multiplied it back out to make it go away. Easiest move here, just run back through it, just makes things easier. So now we'll want to do the exact same thing for sales price. See it? So listing price is here, sales price, we need to adjust that too. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back down here, and we're going to go df.sales price, sale price equals df.sale price divided by 100. And we want to look at that again, and if we're lucky, wouldn't it help if I actually did equal? There we go. And now we've got listing price, sales price, everything's looking pretty good. Cool. So that's just a little bit of fixing up the data set. That's not actually what I wanted to talk to you about. What I wanted to talk to you about was grouping. And I've got a video on this already, just working in Pandas with working with grouping, where you have the ability to basically group things by a category and then aggregate based on that category. Similar to the way you would do with a pivot table or something less robust like just subtotals inside Excel. So if you know how to do subtotals in Excel, this is going to give you the same result just in Pandas. So a couple things we can do. So we've got these brands, right? All these different brands. So what I have the ability to do is I have the ability to use this group by method. And I can tell it that I want to group by brand, like so. Now, once I group by brand, I have the ability to do other things to it, right? So I have the ability to aggregate, and it's pretty cool because if I aggregate, basically just do mean, for example. When I do that, it's actually going to group it by the brands. And then it's going to aggregate or apply the number that I just assigned to it, so mean, to all of the different categories that have numerical values in them. So it's obviously not going to work if it's a string. Okay, so pretty simple, pretty easy. It's not horribly difficult or different from the way you would do using Excel. So now with that though, this is where things get more interesting, right? So of course, I should be able to go through and plot this, just really quick and simple, right? So all I had to do was say, hey, I want to plot this on top of it. And that makes it easy, quick, easy visualization, nothing to do there. But what I wanted to show you is there are a couple other ways to do grouping inside Matplotlib or in Pandas if you're just working with regular old data frames that are also super handy that may be a little bit easier for you if applied on the homework. So now before I get into that, here are some things I want to show you on how to help yourself. So I'm going to pull something over for you. So every machine learning library that we work with, every library we work with in Python, will have documentation that goes along with it. And the documentation at first is a little daunting, but it's sort of like a cheat sheet. It's almost like IntelliSense in Excel, right? So it'll tell you what kind of things you need to input into whatever you're doing in order to get what you want. So you know that you can use Pandas to create a histogram with that built-in portion of Matplotlib that's part of Pandas. And you know that you can simply go, hey, the name of the DF in the histogram, right? But what we didn't look at in class that could be helpful for you as an alternative for your homework is you actually have the ability to define a column to use and a by, which where you see by here, that's the equivalent of group by. Okay, so now there's two different things to take away from this. One, whenever you get stuck, if you just go to whatever library's website that you're using, so that could be Pandas, that could be Matplotlib, that could be sklearn, it'll tell you how to use the feature or function or method or whatever it is that you're doing. It'll show you how to do that, and it usually gives you examples, and it'll give you a little definition. So it'll tell you, hey, like this feature here called buy, what can that do? Well, if passed, it gives you the ability to separate things into groups, right? Which is maybe something that we need to do in just a minute. Also has the ability to limit things to a specific column set. Okay. So what I want to do is show you how you can do that with your homework, right? How we have an alternative on how to group by things. Okay. So let's check that out. Okay. So for example, if we're interested in creating histograms on sale price based on brand, we have the ability to do that pretty easily, right? So here's what I'm going to do. So I'll go with df.plot, and I know I want a histogram. And now I'm going to use those features that we just looked at inside the documentation for Pandas, right? So I'm going to specify a column. And the column that I want to use for my numbers is my sales price column. And it's sale price, like so. Then I can simply say, hey, when you show us a histogram of sales price, what I want you to do is I want you to group it by brand. Now, additionally, when we do this, we probably want to set our figure size. So we can go figure size equals, I'm going to guess, I think on the homework it's 10 by 10, but I'm going to say 10 by 20. And let's just see what we get. Look at that. Nice, easy peasy. Okay, just an alternative. And I've seen a couple different methods that you can use in order to pull this off. This is just one way in case you get stuck. So hey, using an additional argument that you can pass into the histogram option inside Pandas. Now there are a couple other things I want to show you as well since we're here. Okay, so back to that group by thing again. Okay, so you also have the ability to simply use group by in order to generate a plot as well, right? So for example, if I wanted to do something similar and look at all those numerical values, right? Similar to what I did up here, where I've got group by brand, and then I've got mean, and then I've got plot and bar. I could actually do something slightly different here if I just wanted to get an overall understanding of what was happening, right? So I can go df.group by, so I can use that group by option again, and I'm going to still group by brand. Wouldn't it help if I put brand inside the parentheses? Okay. This time I want a box plot. And within that box plot, I'm going to set the size, and I'll do fig size equals, and we'll go with 10 by 20 again, which may be too big. I don't know. If it's too big, we'll run it again. So let's just make sure we didn't miss anything. Brand. Might be too big. Kind of big. All right, that's all right. We can resize this. One quick change. So we'll make this 10 by 10. Perfect. So here's what that did for you. So this grouped things into brands. So it's showing you a breakdown, a box plot of all of the numerical values, right? Listing price versus sales price versus discount versus rating versus reviews based on brand. And it's giving you all of them all in one shot. So it just makes life easier for you. Are there other ways you could do this? Absolutely. What you're probably starting to find is that there are many ways to do many things when you're working with Pandas, Python, and just analytics in general. But these are just answers to some of the common questions that I've gotten over the last week. Hopefully this makes your homework a little bit easier if you happen to be listening to this before its due date tomorrow. And if you happen to be listening to this just overall, hopefully maybe this helped you out just a little bit, just a few tips and tricks on how to group data together and create visualizations. And we did a little bit of data curation, not very much, not super complicated. So with that, friends, I will bid you adieu. I look forward to seeing you. Like all the young kids say, hey, click like if I helped you out. I really just do this for free. I enjoy doing it. Just a cool thing for old nerds like me to do. So I look forward to seeing you guys out there, and I will talk to you soon.